What's up?
Put this.
Okay, cool.
This is the last one from me.
I'm saying nothing.
I love of gods.
I'm saying nothing.
Bye. Bye.
Actually, Katie, sorry, can you close the window slightly? There's a bit of commotion outside. Commotion? Okay. Can you pass Lawrence's strength? Sorry, I'm just...
It's never this chaotic normally. We never have.
Really?
No, it's always just straightforward.
Oh, see,
It's
wow.
just straight. Yeah, never is.
It's homey, you know?
Oh, that's nice. Even though it's not
It's
my
homey.
place.
If it was super, like, regimented, I'd be like, oh shit, what questions are they going to ask me?
No.
What are they going to say to me? I'm going to have to get philosophical. I'm going to have to get super meaningful.
So is the table fixed?
No, don't put too much.
Okay, all right, I'm really glad you told me.
Table.
Right.
This
Quick
table.
instruction.
That was a demonstration of what could possibly go wrong.
I really wanted the slow-mo.
Yeah, what was...
the
good.
table's fixed.
Like we were trying to do a seance. Table tipping.
The table's very wobbly.
Okay.
It has been addressed a number of times, but for some reason this is the worst it's ever been. I don't know why.
Okay.
So yeah.
If you feel like you need to lean on something, don't lean.
Don't lean, okay?
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, my phone. Any further to phone on silent? Yes, we are recording, and welcome to Why We're Not Recording This, episode 22. And we have a guest today. Gang sign, facial expressions, and yes, today we have Becky. Hi, Becky. How's things?
Good, thanks. I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, we good.
We're all good.
Yeah?
Really excited
Okay.
to have you on this episode today.
Thanks.
No pressure, no nothing.
Okay, it's nice.
Yeah.
I've never been on a podcast before, so no pressure is...
Neither have
really?
we.
No pressure is great.
Yeah.
Absolutely zero pressure, but let's come first.
No, that's nice to have you. But like, first things first. Because to me, you are a stranger becoming a friend. And how did you meet Katie? Like,
I think I probably met Katie over Instagram.
Yeah, that's actually a really hard question you just asked because
Yeah.
I was trying to do the maths on how we met
Yeah.
today, and I was like, I don't know where that actually took place.
Yeah,
I
you
think it was
didn't know.
Instagram.
Yeah, I think it was Instagram. So we had like sort of a mutual friend that Katie had worked for before, and I'd worked for before, and we'd painted with him, Oscar.
Oscar with a K.
Oscar with a K. Yes.
Like this
Yeah,
is
she has a
like
tendency of
where
doing
Oscar's
that.
type will go.
Oh right. Oh okay. Insert here.
yeah.
And yeah, we both worked with him, and I think it was just like naturally, in like when you paint murals and you paint stuff, like the people that you know and the people that they know and hire, you naturally sort of gravitate towards them and get involved with them as well. You know, you all want to give each other work and give each other opportunities because you're all in the same game, I guess. So
Really? Okay. Do you know, I would have thought it was quite competitive, like that industry. Well, from the sideline.
I think it depends like on the person and then where their head's at and what they do in terms of like painting as well, depending on whether they do street art or whether they're a graffiti artist or they just call themselves a muralist. There's like different levels of intensity of competitiveness.
Yeah.
But I like to, you know, as I'm sure Katie does, get other people involved who are doing the same as me because we all need to make a living. If we can do it doing something we love, you know, I want to get those people involved in it. So.
And what we've done and what we do in this podcast is we just dive straight in.
Yeah.
And then let's give a little bit of context later.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Just
Sorry.
for people who have it's totally on us. People who've like never met you before.
I mean, your handles are going to be there from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you define yourself? Because you've given like those three of many kind of options of like street artists, graffiti artists,
Broad
muralists.
spectrums, yeah.
How do you define yourself in terms of that?
Oh, the word I use is muralist. I feel like it's just the safest word in a way.
Safest is an interesting.
Like, I definitely would never use graffiti artist because I don't do graffiti. I use the same tools that graffiti artists use, but it's such a different kind of art style.
So the expression is a little different.
Yeah, and I respect it, and there are so many cool people who do amazing graffiti, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, there is no precision. I'm not doing some sick lettering.
Yeah.
I don't have. I'm just sort of like, but street artists is sort of the same. Like, when I first started painting, I was like, street artist, you paint on the street, you're a street artist.
Yeah.
Like, in my head, that makes total sense. But then as I like got to meet other people who called themselves street artists, I was like, oh no, maybe I can't use this term. Like, so I use muralist because it feels like it's such a broader word.
Yeah,
Somebody who paints murals,
Yeah.
Outdoors, indoors, wherever. Like,
What happened when the street artists were producing work that made you think like, oh no, I don't think I can
Yeah,
use
what was
this work?
the-
What do you think the difference is or was? Or...
I think honestly the difference was time. Like, when I first started painting, a lot of the painters I knew, the street artists that I knew, they were like, yeah, I've been doing this since I was 12. I've been doing it my whole life. And I was like,
I started last week.
I started during the pandemic. And I think it was that it felt like there were so many people who've been doing this for so long and they'd carved this path out for themselves. And it was like their full-time thing that I was like, I'm not quite there yet. So I don't want to call myself a street artist out of, I don't know. I want to say out of respect for them, but then I have this thing where I'm like, art's for everyone. It's for everyone. Whatever I want to define myself as is fine, But I don't want to step on the toes of other people who are like, I've been doing this for 30 years. Like,
So you want to separate yourself from
well, that's me.
from the niche.
Yeah, that's it. I don't want to annoy anybody.
Oh.
So I'm like, I paint murals.
And that's the one thing that I will do.
And depending on the day and how my
I'm a
self-confidence
muralist,
is doing, I'm like, I just make pictures on walls. You get me?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say you meet people and they like, I started when I was 12, I started with, same question to you, like when did you actually start this game? Because I feel like I met you and by the looks, you can never really tell in terms of someone's confidence.
You can't.
But when I met you, and that was through like the digital space.
So wait, when was this? Sorry, timeline-wise?
We probably met over a couple years. It was probably sometime between 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was literally just,
COVID period, really.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it was
2020, 2021.
It was just via in the digital space.
Yeah.
We like knowing mutual people,
Yeah,
as we say.
I feel like that's just how it works, and you'll know someone's handle before you kind of know who they are, and then it's like, hello,
Yeah, absolutely.
skeg, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
That's what I mean,
totally.
there's artists with all these handles, and it's like, I don't know your actual name, but like, hello.
Yeah, no,
True.
your tag on Instagram. I'm sure the first time Oscar spoke to me about you, he called you Katie, and I was like, Katie. I should know who Katie is. Who's Katie? And we'd already spoken, and I was like, and then it took a while, and I was like, oh, that's Katie.
May Jones, Katie May.
Yeah, oh,
sense now.
okay.
Yeah.
So same question to you, when did you start doing this? Because it looked like you had been just doing this for years and years.
Wow, that's crazy. It doesn't. Well, I don't see that when I look, but that's because it's about such a personal thing. I started during the pandemic. It was about 3 years ago this month. Yeah, well, I'd always loved working on a large scale. A friend was like, I'm painting a mural on a shutter. I feel like this would be something you'd be good at. Can you give me a bit of a hand with it? And I was like, yeah, sure. Felt totally out my depth. Was like, didn't want to touch the spray paint. I was like, I'm scared. But then I picked it up and had a go. And I was like,
This is fun.
this feels right. It feels like I'm supposed to be doing this. And so that's only been about 3 years. I say only. It's been 3 years.
Nice, okay.
So wait, because you've existed longer than that, what were you doing prior to that?
Well, for the last 8 years, including these 3, I've been freelancing as an illustrator.
So
So-
the background is...
Yeah, so I have a
illustrating.
background in art and design.
Okay, fair. I thought you just woke up one day.
No, that would have been really this. No, I had luckily for me, I had all the prior experience of being like, I know I like working at a large scale. I know what sort of materials I like to use. Before I did murals, I was predominantly a collage artist, and I loved working with old billboards. Like when you see a billboard and it's on the road all dishevelled and grubby. I love picking those up and just taking them home and making new things out of them.
Oh, okay.
That's sick.
Sort of recycling.
Yeah, I love recycling stuff.
Yeah.
I love,
Yeah.
and that still happens in my murals, just not in such a,
That's
in the
true,
same
you say
way.
that.
Not in the
That is
same
true. When
way.
you look at your work, it feels super collagey, like super collagey, just in terms of the layers that you kind of have. And like when layers intersect with each other, like your change of colours and even your colour palette alone is like super vibrant, which it kind of makes me think you probably picked that up from like billboards, if you're kind of recycling those stuff, they're designed to be super vibrant
Yeah, they are,
things.
to advertise.
So your confidence with colour, I think, is one of those things that maybe a lot of artists who are watching this, who are just terrified of colour.
Yeah, it's freaking me pretty too.
I low-key am. I
Yeah, you
love black
low-key.
and white. I love black and
I
white.
mean, yeah, it's safe and nice. Black and white.
Yeah,
it's just
good.
Yeah, but,
Makes-
yeah.
And so your
being
confidence in
impactful.
colour, do you think does that factor in when you're doing your work? Are you conscious of colour? Are you conscious of, or do you just like to play
Yeah,
and-
I mean, it depends. It depends on whether I'm working for myself or like a client. But depending on the piece, I normally make a conscious decision at the start in terms of colour. Like, you know, all of these elements, like say typography and the colour, they're just equally as important as each other. So normally to begin with, I'm like, before I start really designing, I'm like, what colour palette am I going to use? And I'll experiment around with that beforehand. But then sometimes it's nice to just like, when I actually use spray paint, it's really nice to just see how the colours look together.
Yeah.
And don't like, sometimes I think it's not that deep. Just do you enjoy
It's not that deep.
do you enjoy these two
Familiar
tones
phrase.
together? Yeah, doesn't matter, you know,
Yeah.
like certain colours obviously evoke like certain feelings and emotions. And,
Yeah.
and I just try to, a lot of the time, I try to almost forget that they're attached to those things and be like, I love the way this insane green looks of this red.
Yes,
You know,
it's nice.
Okay.
doesn't matter, whatever it evokes, doesn't matter. It's not. But then other times it is important, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you intentionally ignore the rules
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's refreshing sometimes to ignore the rules. And
Do you think
just-
that's something you picked up from like studying the craft, or is that something you've had to kind of learn?
I think it's more something I've learned
Yeah.
after uni, I think, to sort of not, because, you know, when I was there, you do loads of stuff on colour theory and what colours work and what colours don't.
Yeah.
But I sort of had to, I think I learned that over the last few years, basically being like, trying to forget about what these colours actually mean
Yeah,
and just be
yeah.
like, I like them.
Is it also
Yeah.
just like some sort of reminder to yourself, just like, no, I'm just going to express
Yeah,
my colours?
exactly. Yeah, you know, it totally is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I like to be playful in my work anyway, and that's part of it, is like approaching it with that playful attitude of,
Yeah.
I like these colours, so that'll do.
That's
So,
what I'm
like-
gonna do.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that versus clients or what clients want, if that makes sense?
Well, I'm always, oh God, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough.
It's alright.
Like when
Is it
I,
contagious?
no.
I don't know.
I'm joking. But
No.
yeah, go on.
When like a client approaches me normally, you know, I normally go and visit them, even if it's not like a site, if I'm not really painting a mural for them, or if, you know, I go to the site, I see what they're about, I have a look at the colours that they're using. Like, for instance, I'm doing one for a restaurant in sometime in the next couple of weeks, a restaurant near me, and like, you know, I'm like, what sort of colours represent your brand? Because a client will want those colours in the
Yeah.
mural, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how I make them. If I go like totally like, I'm just doing these colours because I like them, the client will be like, can you bring some of us
Yeah,
into it?
like-
So you bring them,
There's some sort of branding
you bring
involved
them
in
into it by bringing like the colours of their branding in. But then, so that's how I approach it. But then I experiment with other colours too that are going to go with those colours. I'll be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
how about a bit of this green, a bit in there, or this pink to go with
Yeah.
the gold, or this,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
like, and then I make it a bit more my own as well,
Yeah.
which is important.
It's a
So.
hard line to get right, that with like what the client wants versus who I am
Yeah,
as an artist.
totally.
And like I think trying to smash those worlds together sometimes can be like really quite difficult
Yeah.
to do.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with that challenge? That's like
Oh,
a really
man,
broad
I
question,
mean-
but like
I just approach it the best I can. Like the challenge in that comes when like people ask you for amendments and stuff, and then they're like, we want it to be more like this, and you can in your mind you're thinking it's going further and further away from me.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
This doesn't represent me.
it was 50-50 and now it's 80-20. I don't really want this to represent me, but so sometimes
Don't put my name on that.
yeah, it's really hard to strike the
Yeah.
the balance, and I feel like sometimes the way to deal with that is almost to like
Change your
not
mind.
take no for an answer. It was like, actually, Katie said this the other day, it was like, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, you said when we were painting. And it's almost like this thing of like, this is the design, and they're like, oh no, I want it to be more like this. And I'm like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I can do that, but I think it's going to be better like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, but no.
And then they go, oh, you sure? And I go, yeah, it is going to be better like this. And then they go, okay then. And then I do it.
Yeah.
And I do often think, oh man, I really should have literally done exactly what they wanted down to the T to make them happy. But then I'm like, this is my career. and I want these things to represent me. So I want to be able to put this out
it's
into
like
the world.
your own signature
Yeah, I want to be able to put it out into the world and someone to hire me or commission me
based on
based on
Recognise
that.
your style.
Yeah, based on
even though
that.
it's for this brand.
I know who did.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So it's like,
Because it can be a scary thing trying to like establish your own style because you don't want to get stuck into a box. But I think you have a really nice way of doing that just with your colour palette. And I think that's such a hard thing to get right. Someone can notice who you are through your colour palette. Is you use a lot of really vibrant blues and a lot of really vibrant pinks, and you just unapologetically smash them together. And it pays off every time. I love that.
Oh, well, I'm glad you think
works.
so.
It
I'm
really
glad you think so
works.
because it does feel like I unapologetically do it. I'm like, yeah, well, it's just happening.
This is me.
It is happening. If you don't like it, don't look at it.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't like it, don't look at it.
Yeah.
Like that. I might steal that from you as well, actually.
Yeah.
So that project that we've just we can talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Your collaborator.
That was the first time that so it wasn't necessarily a collaboration. I was assisting Becky on a project.
Oh right,
And
okay.
it was a collaboration in terms of like how we worked together, but like the project itself was Becky's project. Like, and it was so cool to like see your process.
Yeah.
And like oh my god, Becky's got so many like the tools you have, the ladders, the rollers,
I
the
mean-
Stanley box.
How do you things
things.
around?
So,
Honestly, so working with you, so we just worked on a project, and I was assisting Becky on that, and it was so cool to work with you. One, for your process, because I think you're really systematic with how you work, and you work at speed as well. Like I learned so much by watching how you do things. So we were
It's
like
a graffiti
painting.
artist in you.
Oh my god, we were like painting these sections of a wall, and so it was like, okay, she was like, Katie, you do blue and then pink and then the peach.
the horrible peach
The
colour.
horrible peach colour, that's fine. It was the paint
Well, I
itself.
thought you were doing things right.
The paint itself was just anyway. And like the way you were catching me up with how quickly you were painting was terrifying. Terrifying. I was like, I'm trying to paint quickly, but like your system, I found really, really inspiring to watch because I just think you're super professional with how you do things. And like the journey you're on right now in terms of trying to put your 9-5 behind to move into this world of freelance is amazing to see.
You're 9 to 5ing as well?
Well, I'm not 9 to 5ing. I have a part-time job, but it's like I'm balancing the two at once, you know. And basically I have a part-time job and then freelancing is like a full-time job on top of that.
How the hell? Is my question.
I
the hell?
think just like blind determination and like the absolute want to do this. You think I'm mostly driven by just this idea, this ethos of like I want to be happy. I don't need to have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I just need to be happy. I want to wake up in the morning before work and go, oh, another day. Because I've been in places where I've woken up and I've been like, this again.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. And I hate being in that headspace. Yeah. So I aspire to basically just be like, to get up every day and be like, sick, another day. Yeah, I'm working for myself. Some jobs are better than others, but they're all creative jobs, you know? And that's the dream really. So I think that's how I do it, is that I'm getting closer to that goal. Yeah. Right now it's a bit crap. I have to do 2 things at once. It's hard, but I'm striving towards that goal and eventually I'll get there if I keep the momentum up. I hope so anyway.
Of course you will. Yeah. I feel like it's not maybe I will, it's like of course you will.
Yeah. I had so many years of like either not believing in myself or being like, it's not going to happen. Like it's not happening for me. And then I got fed up with that mentality and I was like, oh, F this, I'm exhausted now. Like if it's going to happen, I've got to make it happen.
Yeah,
do you know
absolutely.
what I mean? So yeah, that's how I manage it, I guess.
Well, to be fair, earlier I heard you say, I'm going to have 4 hours sleep and back to work. I'm like, whoa, what? 4 hours sleep?
No.
Like, whoa, time out. Are you managing?
No, we were talking about where I work part-time. The shop opens at 3:30 in the morning. So occasionally I might have to do a shift where I have to get in for like 3:30 in the morning. And I was saying, and then I'll maybe get 4 hours sleep because my body isn't going to bed at like 6 p.m. to get a full night's sleep before.
To get your 7-8 hours.
It's not happening. My body just goes, no way.
Not today.
No way.
So how do you, because trying to make it work as a freelancer can be like a really terrifying thing. I don't know, maybe there's people watching who are also in the same pool of like just trying to slug it on and trying to make it work.
Yeah.
What I've noticed about you is just your hustle mentality of being able to ask people for work. and tell people that you're available to do this, or be like, yeah, I want to do this in the future.
Yeah.
How do you find time to like factor that in? Because I think you're really good at the admin side of things, which is what keeps things moving.
Keeps the ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the forgotten element as well, I think.
Oh yeah, and the most boring part probably as well.
Vital, isn't it?
It's so important. It's so important, but it is. I'm like, oh, this is not fun. That's what I've been doing all day today, basically.
Right.
Invoices, receipts, catching up on expenses and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly think I find time for that sort of thing during travel.
Okay.
I know that. But
So it's a way of killing time.
yeah, basically. Is
Yeah.
that when I would normally be on my phone, just like watching videos, I'm like, who do I need to email? Who do I need to contact?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do things like, you know, I'll see that somebody's painted somewhere or is doing something through some company, and then I'll be like, make a mental note. Next time I'm traveling, email those people,
Like that.
message those people.
Yeah.
I'm really good at, well, I think, don't,
Own it.
you know,
Own it.
I'm really good at basically being like, hi, I want to get involved. How do I get involved?
Yeah,
and if
yeah.
people ignore me, I'm like, hello, I'm here. I want to get involved. Tell me how I can get involved. And then
Okay, so you essentially put yourself out
yeah,
there.
I do. And mostly people are really receptive to that. Like, I
Yeah,
never have sometimes
that's
people are
nice,
like, sorry, like, there's no space here or whatever, you know, to put it briefly.
Yeah.
There's no room in this project for someone else. And I go, cool, thanks for telling me. But a lot of the time I do just be like, hey, I see you've got this event happening. It looks awesome. How can I be a part of it? And I feel like that works for me a lot.
Yeah.
But it is mostly in my downtime when I'm traveling. I use that as admin time, which is not always sensible, to be honest, because it sounds sensible, right? But then if I'm going to have a full day at work, I'm on my way to work.
Yeah.
I spend my time doing work on the bus. I go in my break, I do
Yeah.
work while I'm at work.
But do you hear the motivation of what you're saying? Like the drive and what it's not the motivation.
Yeah,
I'm saying
but
the-
there's definitely an imbalance when it comes to like downtime and chilling out. Like
Yeah,
I'm
but-
terrible at those things.
we can all relate to that right now. Like,
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like there's an element of subjectiveness in that, because you might just
Yeah.
find yourself like, you know what, it's because you want this, so you'd rather be doing this than anything else, really. Because
Yeah.
yes, you can easily just be like, yeah, nah, downtime, I'm kicking back.
Yeah.
But something in your head's going to be like, you know what, you could be just editing this, or you could be just doing this.
totally.
It's like, you know what, actually, I'll go to bed tonight thinking, yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did
Yeah,
something.
I think
and
I
there's
think
something about you saying that you do that whilst you're traveling that I really quite like, because when you're on the move, I feel like you're not really conscious of that weird thing that comes over you where it's like, don't ask, what if they say no, like what are you going to do with the rejection?
yeah, totally.
That
yeah.
is kind of distracted because you're on the move somewhere, and all you can do is blast a message and be like, okay.
Yeah.
You're not sitting there like, oh my god, they need to reply now. They need to check it on your break.
Yeah,
and
that's
check it
true.
on your...
That's true.
There's a distraction in the travel, which
There is,
probably
yeah.
makes messaging people
I've
seem a little bit.
never really thought about it like that, but yeah.
I'm so
Yeah, that's me.
yeah.
That's exactly why I do it. Yes.
Yeah, you know.
So you recently just painted at, oh god, I'm so gonna butcher the name. Did you paint at some kind of festival scenario thing?
Yeah, Swindon Paint Fest.
Yeah, what's that?
It's literally like a mural and street art festival, 2 days. Various artists painting live across different sites in Swindon.
Yeah.
But then they also have other stuff going on, like live drawing classes, exhibitions, workshops, that kind of thing too. And they had an art market as well, which was cool.
Nice.
So yeah, I was there painting on the Saturday and the Sunday. And yeah, it was really good. A nice chance to like meet other people who paint,
Yeah.
you know.
I didn't really know that was a thing. I think you posted something about it, and I didn't know that like there was like festivals that were about. I had no idea. How do you know
There
this?
are. Well, just
What are your friends? You don't hang around
just
with them. I'm thinking about the was.
just through
What?
the digital
Yeah.
universe.
Amazing.
Like just seeing other people do it and going, oh, I want to be a part of that. Next year I'll
Yeah,
try and be
yeah.
a part of it, you know.
So did you meet some cool people? Was it one of
Yeah,
those
I
were you close
did.
enough to artists to actually get to like?
Yeah, no, I was painting side by side with them. I had artists on both sides of me, so I got to chat to them, and there was some there. It was nice. There was a guy next to me called Edward from Barcelona who was living in London. And he was amazing. You know, it was like proper realism portraiture stuff where I'm just like, wow.
In paint.
To be
What do
fair,
you
we
do?
were talking about the art in Barcelona. It's just it's like, whoa, they
Oh,
really love their
yeah, I
art
can
over there.
imagine. It's so sick.
It's like the city is just a canvas. There
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be, like, in terms of practicing, sorry, it's the tiniest cup of water in the world.
I mean,
I'm noticing everyone's running out.
I'm only 5 minutes in, like, wow,
No,
feeling a
okay.
bit parched.
Savor the ration.
No, I'm
You
okay.
get the bring the bottle out.
Yeah.
But
Ration
yeah, in
it.
Barcelona,
The one that
it's
was
like
just-
it just seems like the city is a canvas, and so in terms of practicing, there seems like there is just so many places where you can openly practice because every square inch of the
okay,
place is just
cool.
covered in.
So it's like,
legally illegal.
yeah, it's legally
Yeah.
illegal. No one's going to bat an eyelid. It's like everyday common
But don't get
occurrence.
caught. Like what?
yeah,
Yeah,
but don't get caught.
Yeah.
Do you feel because you're painting in such close quarters to other artists, did it like in any way like have an impact on your process, or did you get into the zone and you were just doing your thing?
I think it did. I think it disrupted my process a little bit.
Really?
I thought maybe I'd be there between other artists and I'd find, you know, the vibes were great. It was fantastic. I thought maybe I'd find a bit more like synergy and excitement than I did. But I think I got a bit apprehensive and I was like watching these people who were doing their own thing and they were really, really sick. And I was like, okay, I have to also be really sick now. And it's the pressure of like, you know, because normally like when you paint on the street, right? People come up to you and they'll be like, what's that? I don't like it. I'm like, it's not. Now they do it all the time. Every time.
I'm not done.
Every time I paint, people bother me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not for you.
Yeah.
But the people I do care about the opinions of are other people who paint. So when I'm there with other people who paint and they're painting, I'm like, oh wow,
Don't look at it yet.
I really can't do a bad job because these people
Put something on some sort of barrier.
Exactly.
Too soon.
The old
This is
guy,
first
the
layer.
old guy works past me and goes, "Oh, do you think you are Banksy?" I don't give on what he thinks, but I do care about what the painter next to me
Yeah.
thinks. So I'm like, so that was weird. It was a bit weird, but I loved it. It was great, and I had chats with all of them, and it was awesome. So
Like what was like how did you deal with that? Because I mean, you said you've been doing it for 3 years, and there was an element or a stage whereby you had to accept your love of colors and accept your own style.
yeah.
Like what was that thing that was just like you know what, beep what you heard. How did you cope with it essentially?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure what the answer is. I feel like I need half an hour to think about it.
Yeah.
I think when I sort of like came into that headspace where I was like, this is the way I'm working, this is my style, these are the colours I like using. It was almost like, you know, like as a creative person, sometimes you almost have to be creative to survive, you know? Like it's so innate and within me that I can't not do it.
It's like I need to let
I
this
have
out.
to let it out. I have to. I think like a lot of artists will feel that way. Like, you know, being a creative person can be so draining sometimes. It's exhausting. But I have to keep doing it because it's who I am. And I think coming to a place where I was like, I'm going to use spray paint now. I'm going to do these sorts of things came from that place of being like, right, you know, this is what I need to do now to sustain myself, to keep myself
makes me feel
going.
good.
Makes me feel good. Makes me feel good. It keeps me going. It's what I want to do with my life.
Makes you money too.
Well, yeah, it
let's
makes me
not
money
forget.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes
that's
me-
also nice. That's also a nice thing.
Yeah, it's a nice thing.
It is nice, yeah.
But wait, actually, sorry. Now that you mentioned money, now my brain is thinking. Wait, how do you charge for your art?
Oh, wow. Well, that is a minefield. I'm pretty sure no one has ever figured it out, no matter how many times they charge you one.
I'm still trying.
For me, it really depends on. There are a few variables. Like, I know that at the moment, my day rate is £200 a day. If I'm painting a mural for you and it's going to take all day, there's £200. But there's also a day designing that mural, which is another £200. And then I've got to think about the fact that loads of money gets deducted because of tax, because I'm self-employed, all the materials that I'm going to have to buy for this job. Yeah. If it's a huge client, then I will always charge them what I am worth. Like if it's a massive client and it's a big job, like the one Katie's just helped me on, then I'm like, I will charge them what I am worth minimum because they can afford it and it's what I deserve. Yeah. But then the flip side of that is that sometimes I have a small client who has an awesome business and they're doing something so cool and I love what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't have any money. And I'm like, okay, what can I reasonably do for very little money? And I think when it comes to charging, I basically just use my day rate and calculate it based on that. And it's not always the best way at all. Like, sometimes I'll do a lot of work for very little. But I'm still I'm still on this journey myself of trying to figure that out. It's hard.
I don't think there's a cheat code.
Yeah, it's
Just don't
really
think there's a cheat code
hard.
for that.
Like, it's so difficult.
Because it feels like you need to. It's like one of those things where a job is asking you for like a PhD plus all of the experience. Do you know what I mean? Like it's asking you to study for the thing, but then also have loads of experience, and then be like, okay, here's 20 grand's payment at the end. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's your wage for the year. It's one of those tricky things where I think because as an artist, I think to rise up a little bit, you have to kind of have that notoriety of like, I've painted here, here, and here, and it's like, do you have to have? Is it to do with the scope of your work and the fact that people have seen your work all over the place that gets you the jobs where people are more willing to pay more for your work? I'm kind of thinking of like the bigger artists that are working in like the street art / mural environments, like Hamo and things like that. Who just kind of have work all over the place with like a signature style. I don't know what the cheat code is in terms of like how you charge. Is it based on how popular I am or how good my work is? Or
I haven't got a clue, right? But what I will say is that I wish we could all be more transparent with each other about it. I find it really like within like circles of artists, like people are so secretive about how much they ask for and their systems for this, and it would be so wonderful if they could like pass down that knowledge, but they don't. They just hold it really close to their chest.
This is what worked for me.
This is what worked for me, but I'm not going to tell you
in a way which is like, I'm making loads of money over here and I don't want to tell you that. I think people are more embarrassed because they're like, oh, what if I say a number and you're going to think that it's like a stupid number. I think
totally.
Maybe for the smaller artists, that's how it works. We don't really talk about money because it's like, what if I say that I did this for like 180 quid? And you're like, what do you mean you did it for that with expenses and with this and with this?
Sometimes I'm like, I did it because the person was really cool.
Totally. I did this one for free. Dude, I'm so terrified of saying that because I have done so much work for free before.
Yeah, no, me too.
Just because I want the space to practice.
Absolutely.
I want people to. If I'm working for free, which I've done on a project, you've helped me on a project that I did for free. They bought all of the tools and stuff. I told my parents about that, and my dad said, if you ever put a paintbrush to a wall again without paying for it, I'm done with you. And I was like, okay, that's one way of winning.
That's extreme.
Don't ever put paintbrush to a wall without taking money. And I was like, oh.
But sometimes I feel like there's an element from an artist. That part that says, I just want to do it just
I agree.
so I feel like I did it.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Wanting to do it.
Yeah, just wanting to do it.
And you have to be.
So it's
money is a funny thing.
Like talking to other artists about that because we can't all work like that.
No.
Because then someone will just go to the next person. So you charge money. If we use your rate, and you said I'm going to do that, then someone might be like, okay, but Nate or Katie would do it for free. And I feel like we need to talk about money because we need to start
but then that's where go on,
no, I was saying I feel like we absolutely do. I feel like we do, and we all do each other a favour by doing that as well, massively.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like in a massive way, it'd be so helpful to talk to other people who and to tell me how much they charge. It would just give me so much clarity, and I'd like if they're charging way more than me, then that's fine. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know the ins and outs. I want to know why they're charging that. You know, and like I get it. This is their jobs too. And it would just make it so much easier. Like I do feel sometimes it's almost like a bit like a game of chicken, you know, like it's going to cost this much, like, oh no, we don't have this much. This person might do it for a bit less though, and you're just like,
but don't you want me?
But you asked me, you came to me, you've seen my work, right? You came to me not because I'm cheap, but because you like what I do.
What you saw. Yeah, exactly.
And then they're like, sometimes that's not the case. Like, they're like, I picked you because you're cheap, and you're like,
oh. Yeah, but then see, I feel like that's on the client, because sometimes you might just pick someone who's going to do a very bad job, and that's no offense to like people going to do subjectively anyway. It's like, so I don't think it's any biggie, but it would be nice if everyone is transparent. And it's like, this is what you're getting from here, this is what you're getting from there. That's what they think they're worth. If they think that's cheaper, that's subjective too, but go ahead. It's like, that's a standard of work you're going to get. But at the same time, I guess it's the greed in humans.
Absolutely,
We just operate in art and design. I just think we operate so differently to like the way you'd hire like a freelance anything else, freelance lawyer. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like their rates, you're not gonna try and charge them down. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like a standard thing. And
you know
they have
exactly?
like a centralized. This is across the board how much generally it's kind
This
of
is
gonna
how much
cost.
it's gonna cost
You could
you.
Google that and you'd get like a general figure as to how
Absolutely.
much. Whereas if you're looking for like a mural artist, no idea.
Muralist.
Muralist, mural artist,
Yeah,
muralist.
Sorry.
I'm a friend in a profession.
Yeah, you know, like you were saying there. And for example, like my partner works in information security. If he does that freelance, he knows that he charges like £350 a day. That's it. There's no wiggle room. He doesn't say someone, my rate's $350 a day. How do you feel about that? Like I do.
Is that okay?
Is that okay?
all right
He's
with
like,
you?
my rate's $350 a day.
Yeah.
If you don't
There's a
want me,
benchmark,
yeah,
that's it.
you don't. I'm not taking 349. My rent is
Yeah,
$350 a day.
yeah.
My rate is $350 a day. And I'm
Like,
like,
where are you living in
what?
350,
50
like-
a day? I'm not wherever that is. You know, so it's like, why artists, but we don't do that, or at least I know I don't. I don't say, this is it. There's no wiggle room. Get over it. And that's what I should do, because that's the way to make it sustainable as a
course it
career, you know?
Do you reckon it's also because of competition and
Yeah.
not wanting jobs to pass you by?
Yeah,
whereby
absolutely.
some people will accept that
Yeah.
lower fee.
Absolutely it is. Getting any work is still to me now really quite sacred. Like when someone wants me to work for them, I'm like, fantastic, this is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Don't
Yeah.
blow it now.
Don't
with
blow
your
it.
number.
Don't blow it with your number. Anything's good, because you should just be happy to have the work. You should just feel
Yeah.
grateful.
Oh, boo.
I know. So I'm just like, just yeah. But I have got better recently, I'd say in the last year or so, at being like, I can't do that. I'd love to do that project, but there's not enough money in it for me. I can go and do something else. I can find other work that'll pay me what I do deserve, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think watching you from afar, it feels like that's kind of what you're morphing into. It feels like you are. You're just morphing into this character now who's less apologetic about. I don't know. I'm just basing
Yeah,
it
yeah,
off the
totally.
project that we worked on together, because like
Yeah.
the way you handled that, and you were able to employ people to work with you on
Yeah,
a project. And
no,
I
it
think
was
in terms
so
of that is so cool.
crazy.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's one of
they've got
those-
employees now.
I know, guys. I was just
it's
like,
so cool
I was
to
like,
see.
I can now employ other people instead, as
That's
well as being an
amazing.
employee. And I
Can
was
we just say, like, Becky was like, just invoice me for the days that you worked, blah, blah, blah. I did, paid me immediately. And
This creative game, next thing's like,
I sent you an
Opposite.
invoice, and I
Three
had like, in
invoices.
my mind, I was like, well, probably like a month.
yeah.
no.
Oh, nice.
The same day, it was like, yeah, I've
Absolutely
sent it.
not.
And that, artist to artist, we need to get to those
Ah,
higher
yeah.
positions.
Oh, for
because
sure.
we know how important it is to pay people.
Well, that's
in a
exactly what it
timely, bloody
is.
manner.
I know how important it is to be paid in
Yeah.
a timely matter.
Absolutely.
So I'm not messing about.
And I love that. So
Yeah,
the more
that's
we need
it,
to be
that's
charging
nice.
more and more, so we can be in these positions where we're doing the hiring now.
Yeah.
And we're not making. If anything, I would love to be in a situation where I want someone to do some work. They say a price, and I'm like, it's way too cheap.
Yes.
To tell someone else,
Right,
it's like,
you
what
know,
are you doing?
you
Like,
should
nah,
do
nah,
it.
Yes,
nah.
I
Well,
want to
it's
be
not a
that
zero to
person.
Know your worth.
Totally. You
Yeah.
want to be that
Worth,
person
yeah.
for someone else to say, you need to
Absolutely.
know your worth.
And so I
Yeah.
do think in terms of that landscape of like how people are charging it, it's down to us to change that, and we have to start changing it
Yeah, totally.
immediately.
Totally.
Like if anyone's watching this and you're doing a project right now and you're about to charge someone,
Don't shortchange yourself.
don't shortchange
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Really don't do that.
Yeah, maybe think about times it by 2. I don't know. Like just have a go. Like,
Yeah.
2.5 for
2.5.
expenses.
Yeah. Think about all your expenses and your tax and stuff if
So
you're
we were
paying it.
talking for a minute about like kind of how you build up this platform in terms of how to build your freelance network up. In terms of finding the time to practice your medium,
Yeah.
because you're working on such a big scale,
Yeah.
you need to practice on walls. It's not really any use working on like a canvas
Yeah.
or paper and things like that, because you
Yeah.
need to work in urban environments.
Totally.
How do you find that as a woman trying to go out there to find spaces to practice in, which and also stay safe?
Almost impossible.
Mad.
Almost impossible. There was a short time for a few months in the last year where I had a studio that had an outdoor space where I could paint murals.
Sick, where's the studio?
It was at Brunswick Mill in Salford.
Nice.
But I left there for other reasons, and that was pretty awesome at the time, and I wish I'd taken more advantage of it.
So it had like a courtyard
And
area.
yeah, there
where
was
you
a courtyard area,
damn,
and it
that's
was
so
and it
cool.
was basically, I've always been like, what I need is, I don't need a studio with a desk. I need an outdoor space.
Yeah.
Or if I'm gonna have a studio, it has to be like a garage with proper ventilation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know,
I just need a whole wall.
because my medium is spray
Yeah.
paint, so I
Yeah.
can't. I'm not sat at my desk like.
Yeah, so you could do with a
Do
wall, maybe
sketching.
some shelter.
I'm sketching
Yeah.
like this, so exactly.
Yeah.
But in terms of actually going out and painting, I have found it every single time I've done it that I've painted in public, I've struggled and it's been nerve-wracking. And I thought it would get easier,
Yeah.
but it hasn't done. It hasn't got easier, and that's due to like feeling unsafe, people approaching me, like, you know, unsolicited comments coming over to me, touching my things, or like, and it's kind of frightening when you were like painting out in the streets, right? You know, there's this perception to a lot of people that even if I'm working for a client and I have got full permission to be there, a lot of people see a kind of spray paint and go,
You shouldn't do that.
vandalism, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people see it and they're just sort of like, oh, I hate, oh, that's awful. I don't like that. It's a crime. But then, yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, you know, I don't like that. Are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed? And you're like, yeah. But I'm like, I am actually, I'm being paid to do this. This is my job. No.
There's my idea.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I'll be like, fuck off, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But there are times when it has been like, I found that really, really difficult. Like, I've had kids try and steal paint before.
Really?
Yeah, I've had people be quite aggressive towards me and swear at me and make me feel really unsafe. People who've like come to bother me and then left and come back repeatedly. Because it's not like I'm stationary. I'm
You're gonna be
painting
there
this
for a
wall.
couple of
They
hours.
know where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They walk past, they've seen you.
Yeah, totally. And I've
God.
have had instances like with like teenagers wearing balaclavas on motorbikes and stuff when they're like they come right up to me. Like, I've tried to paint on the Fallowfield Loop. The Fallowfield Loop is like notorious. People paint there all the time.
Yeah.
It's like
a go-to
it's
spot
like
to
illegal, you know. It's not weird to see someone paint there.
Tiny Barcelona.
And yeah, and I really like it there. But like, it's still, every time I've been to paint there, I've been like, this should be a safe space for me to paint, but it's just not. And at some point you just have to go, this is down to my gender. Like, when I paint with men, they never get bothered.
Yeah, never
like,
heavy
people
stories from men.
don't harass them, but they harass me because I'm an easy target. And I am the sort of person who, someone comes over to me and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? You got permission to do that? And I'm like, yes, I do, sir. I do have permission. I'm like, I do have permission. I'm like, you know, like, I try and kill them with kindness.
God.
I
Yeah,
know, because I don't want them to. I'm like, I don't
I
want
don't
any
want to provoke you, or
altercations.
for you
just
to
trying
think
to-
I'm provoking you, for you to
Exactly.
just misunderstand anything.
Exactly. I mean, like, for instance, I was painting in Liverpool last month, right? And there was towards the evening I was painting. It was on a high street again for a client, and there was a guy with his mate. He must have been like his late 50s, early 60s, and he was really drunk. And he came up to me and he was like, "Will you paint a letter M on the shutter for my brother?" We called him Moonface. we called him Moonface. He died 10 years ago this
I'm
month.
sorry, Holmes.
Yeah, we called it. No, it's funny, right? And I'm like, we called him Moonface. Can you do a letter M on the shutter? And I'm like, no, mate. I'm sorry. This is work for someone. I can't do that. That is vandalism. Like, I can't do work for that.
It's the definition of
Vandalism. I'm like, and he's like, oh, come on, do it for my brother Moonface. And I'm like, I'm sorry, mate, I can't. And he goes to the pub and I can see him in the big garden. I'm like, okay. And of course he comes back 10 minutes later.
impressing
He
yourself
comes
with
back
that.
with a pint. He goes, come on, Lol, let me get you a pint. And I go, I don't want a pint, mate. I'm painting. I don't want a pint. And he's like, let me get you a pint. Do me an M for Moonface. And I got fed up. And because of what I'm like, I went, all right, mate, I'll do you an M for Moonface.
Don't snitch on yourself.
But then that's it. It's fine. It's all right. Okay. The client who I did it for, I told them afterwards why there was an M. I left them spray paint to cover up the M. Right? So I did the M for Moonface, and he was like, "Oh, lass, you're all right, you're amazing, lass. Let me buy you a drink." I'm like, "No, leave me alone."
Oh God.
And he's like, I'm like, "I've done it now. So can you just let me get on with the work?" And his mate's like, "Yeah, come on, let's get on with work." And then he comes back again and he goes, "Will you draw a moon for my brother? Because he was Moonface. Can you draw a moon?" And I'm like, And the thing is, I gave him an inch, so he's taking a mile.
Yeah, of course.
Now it's just milk.
That's my problem.
But this is the plight. This is the thing that women are faced. Because if you're a man, he's not coming up to you
Well,
and
that's
doing
it.
that. Or
If
he's
you're-
trying it once, and that's
it. And when
done.
you say
Yeah.
get lost, no.
Yeah,
but
because you're a woman, he can push and push and push and push.
He
kept
And I think
pushing me.
That idea of like not being able to practice
Yeah.
your craft in a space which is safe is like one of the most fucked up things.
Yeah, it
about
totally
trying to make
is.
it as like
It's
either
really
street artist,
hard.
mural artist,
Yeah,
whatever
so
you want to
how
call yourself.
are you navigating it?
Oh, well, to be honest, I struggle to navigate it. Like, I have I got into like using water-based spray paint because it was safer to use indoors. And I have a little studio set up in my flat, but I literally like drilled pieces of wood onto the wall to make a backing for myself so I could paint without getting paint on the walls in my flat. Which I hope my landlord doesn't listen because he'll be
Yeah, no, she's
fuming.
joking.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Joke.
Psych.
so that was sort of one way in which I challenged it, but like it does, like I do struggle with it all the time, and I think it's because like I see lots of the naturally like street art and murals, like it's a male dominated sport, if you will. It is, and that's fine, but it does make it harder as a woman to get into that space, to feel accepted in that space.
And to be safe.
And to be safe
when
in that
doing
space, because
yeah.
then a lot of the time, like they don't really understand why you don't feel safe because they can't relate to that, which makes sense. So you're like, but
Pardon me, I laughed at Liverpool too, but it just
no,
I'm
it's
not
funny.
causing no harm. I
No,
promise.
no. Hey, it's
You checking your
No, I'm
privilege.
just thinking. Wait a minute.
no.
Am I exercising some sort of
It
privilege
is
here?
like in hindsight, it is funny. It's just that there's that element of fear as well.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. From
You
your
don't know
perspective,
where
it's
that's
like
gonna
this is
go.
unpredictable.
I don't know where this is going to go.
If I say no,
Yeah, well,
am I-
what I didn't say is that after I refused to do that moon, he came back twice and was just shouting at
This is the
me.
thing, even if it's talking about
calling
from,
me
like, a male
names.
perspective, and maybe you can fuck that, but like as a man, maybe you could, all you needed to do is turn around and maybe just square up to him a little bit. If we do that, he's not taking it seriously.
It's
So
it's
already
yeah.
we're kind of like, I don't know.
You're like,
I don't know what to do. So the fact that it's like, okay, I'll draw an M on my piece that I spent weeks
Hours,
designing. And
yeah.
I spent this. It's kind of crazy, and it kind of makes me think that like we as women should band together and start spraying in these places together.
Yeah, totally.
And start
Yeah,
doing like
like-
these collaborative things, which is kind of crazy
Totally.
because like that we have to even do that. But I think we should start doing that, and we should like
Absolutely.
take up space on the
Yeah.
Fallowfield Loop.
Yeah, we should
And
take
be
up
like, okay,
space.
who's
There's
the
strength
one
in
who wants
numbers.
to- Who wants
Yeah,
to
no,
paint?
that's true,
I,
that's
I
true.
really want to practice with
and
spray
also
painting.
normalizing it.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
I just have
normalise it.
I'd have no idea
mean-
where to start practicing.
I am just on what we were just saying. Like, I feel like a lot, because like I was saying, it's mostly male dominated. A lot of the painters that I love and follow their work, they're painting all the time. I've always got new pieces up, and I feel that I'm like they're so more frequently out there painting than I am. But it's because I don't feel safe to paint. There isn't a safe space for me to paint and to
Yeah, to feel like
practice.
just go anytime
So I
and-
can't do it. And sure, like the artists that I love, who I'm like close to, they're like bashing them out. They've got 2 murals out a week. They're working on a new piece. They wake up and they go, "Today I'm going to go out and paint."
Yeah, and I'm gonna start at 6 a.m.
I'm gonna
For
start-
you, there's a lot to
Start-
consider.
But yeah,
before you even
there's
get
so much to consider before I even paint, and
Yeah.
it's not just my equipment, my materials, all that stuff. It's mostly my own safety.
Like, can this Sharpie double up as some sort of
Like, for
projectile
instance-
weapon? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like you know, like I recently painted in the Northern Quarter in Manchester on a tiny shutter, and I asked my partner to take the day off work so he could just come and stand next to me because I was like, I need him there.
Yeah,
because if I don't,
Then
I'm in the Northern Quarter in Manchester.
Yeah.
People are going to bother me all day. Like, but yeah, no, women do need to band together. I mean, there are collectives in England of female painters or female and non-binary other gender painters who come together and paint to make it safer. And they have paint jams, they find places to paint, and it's awesome. But there isn't one in Manchester.
Yeah, we should be the face of that.
Yeah,
we should just
we
start
should. It doesn't exist in Manchester, but it really needs to, because there are so many women here who paint, and other people who paint of marginalised genders who feel like they can't. They want to get into it. I've had so many people say to me, "I'd love to paint. I'd love to get into it." But you know, it's not. You know, it's a boys' game, isn't it?
that's-
It's boys only.
that's long.
say
Just
that
thinking,
too,
okay, I want to
like-
do this, but oof, am I safe though?
Yeah,
that's long.
Yeah, like can
So
you?
I have students who will ask if can I go and spray paint on the Fallowfield Loop, and I kind of look at them and I'm like, oh God, not you. Like yes you can, yes you can,
At your
but I
own
don't.
risk.
Yeah, I don't want.
Yeah.
Who
But
are you gonna go with?
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
go there and say,
I'm
I
like your
sent you
responsible
there.
adult while you're in
Yeah,
Manchester.
yeah.
It's like, who are you going to go and paint with? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I was just going to go. Like, I live around the corner.
Yeah.
It's like,
I've never looked at
I
that
don't
side
know.
of life, you know.
So
like-
I think that's something worth, like, if
Yeah,
any female
totally.
painters who want to paint,
Yeah.
let's go and paint.
Yeah.
And then, like, also after, let's do, like before it, maybe let's do a
Yes, please.
kickboxing class, or, like, let's do something, limber up, and then let's go paint.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Limber
Yes,
up.
please.
So
It's
to
literally.
change it to a slightly more positive note.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favourite piece that you've painted thus far?
Oh man.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I painted one last August, so a year ago, for a cafe, an Asian cafe called Yesla in Didsbury.
Yes, lad.
And it's called Yesla, which is like, it sounds Liverpudlian, right? But
Oh,
it's
is it
not,
not?
it's not Liverpudlian. No, they're not.
Oh, it was.
I can't, yeah.
I feel like
it's
I've
not,
seen that on your page, actually.
yeah. And it was typographic piece, really simple. It just says Yesla and these big wobbly letters.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, everything clicked. Everything fell into place when I did it. I was like,
sick.
oh, it just happened. And I was
What's
like,
mistake? No, it's not.
I was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my God, it looks fantastic. I was so buzzing
Love
about it. So that one's my favourite one because it
Sick.
felt the best. And the outcome I was
Yeah.
just like,
That's
yes.
absolutely amazing.
Like, do you premeditate your pieces?
Yeah. Sometimes too heavily, I think.
What do you mean?
like
What
I have
does
an
it entail?
idea and then I spend a good 20 hours sketching it up and doing loads of iterations, changing the colours.
Yeah.
And then I come out and paint it and it takes me 6 hours to paint and I'm like, almost done.
Are you not recording?
No.
Okay, I thought you were
This is
checking
the other
something
one.
then.
No,
I
it's
thought,
fine.
okay. 20 hours.
But then once it's done, I'm like, oh, it's over with. Thank gosh. Well, I'll move on to the next one now.
Yeah.
But I do spend too much time premeditating them sometimes. But I think like what inspires me a lot is symbols and typography I found when I'm out and about.
Oh, tell us
like-
everything. Go
Oh,
on.
you're
Tell us
speaking-
Talk time. Get out of the way.
I think
No.
I was kicked out 2 minutes ago.
No, we need to bring you back into it.
Yeah,
We need to bring
ladies
you back into it.
unite. No, photography, I'm out.
You're out.
I'm on the sideline right now.
No. You can come in. You can paint with us as well. No, mate. Oh well.
I'm saying,
Katie, you can
please,
have the
as you
final
were.
You know. Oh, let's see. Table tipping.
Oh, I'm back. I'll hold it up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm back. You're welcome. As you were.
Typography. in the
Yeah.
wild.
Sorry, I'm like.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's like I am totally. I was like when I'm outside, when I'm out and about, it's like always typography and signage that maps the way for me. It's like, oh yeah, I know down that street there's this shop that has this sign, and that's where I know where I am basically. And a lot of the time, most of the time, it's symbols that really catch my eye, and they can be boring as hell. Symbols, right? Think like road signs, like.
How dare you?
You know, like, yeah, I know, I love road signs. I love road signs. And I love repurposing those symbols, being like, how can I change their meaning? Like, how do I subvert their meaning and use them to do something else?
Nice.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like a different language over there.
Yeah, because they're a language in themselves. And I'm like, how do I transform the language again and make something entirely
Speak it.
different?
Nice.
You know? And those are the sorts of things that inspire me, the things that I see when I'm out and about. And sometimes I almost have this internal debate with myself where I'm not particularly like inspired by anything that's really like philosophical or spiritual.
Things you're supposed to
I'm
be
like,
inspired by.
yeah, things I'm supposed to be inspired by, which having like going to uni, I think put that in me, like I'm supposed to be inspired by the meaning of life and all of these things. And I'm just like, that looks cool, that. Let me take a picture of that sign.
Like that.
Let me take a picture of that symbol and I'll put it into one of my murals and I'll just rotate it and change it a bit. Oh, I've changed the meaning of it now. It looks cool.
Yeah.
So I do sometimes have this thing where I'm like, I should really be, to have a career, do I need to be inspired by something big and a big idea, something that drives me my entire life? Can I just be inspired by symbols? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, just express
you can.
yourself.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's nice. If someone's like, what's your work about? I'm like, pretty. I like this symbol. I use it. I kill.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's nice,
Mine
that.
now.
But I like that, and I feel like that kind of playful attitude comes across in your work, which is what
Yeah.
holds people, and because there's so much that happens as well within a lot of your pieces in terms of overlays, symbols, the type choices that you make, stellar, stunning, firmly approved.
It's
How much creative control do you have then on your jobs with clients?
I'd say a lot of creative control. A lot. I'd say most of the time I'm looking at probably about 80%. If you were putting it down to like what the control they have over me, it's normally about 80%. But I think I have that because when somebody approaches me and asks me to do some work for them, I'm very much like, you've seen my work, haven't you? You've seen what I do. Because
I don't want
honestly,
misunderstandings.
sometimes people are just like, okay, so will you, they're like, oh yeah, we love your work, it's great. Will you paint us a picture of, I don't know, Steven Gerrard? And I'm like,
What's wrong with you? Why do you have against Liverpool right now?
no, nothing. Hey,
I'm out.
no, I just thought of a football player. I love Liverpool. Well,
Okay.
I don't follow football really, but I love Liverpool, the place.
I'm not hurt, but go on.
Do you know what I mean? The point is they pick something that I don't do, and then you're just like, so you haven't looked at my work.
Yeah.
So I'm very like, I try and have creative control by being like, so you've seen my work then?
Yeah.
What's your favourite piece of my work?
Yeah,
I always use this one, like, which piece of my work
So
do
give
you
me a
like the
window.
best to give me some ideas for what you
A
want?
window of what.
And it forces them to look at my work and not just say they've looked at my
Hilarious.
work.
Yeah, I like
Which
that
seems
one.
like something you shouldn't have to do, but I find it surprising how often people are like,
But this is in the space of the 3 years that you've kind of been doing this. I feel like
Yeah.
you've learned so much in way of like the tips and tricks that you can pass on to other artists
yeah,
about little things you might need to say or do or like.
yeah.
I don't know. I just really like that. What's
like
your favorite
you've
piece of my
studied.
work, or what's the piece of work that kind of brought you to
You know,
asking me?
I feel like these questions that you're asking me they're not questions I ever hear. Like, you know, working for yourself can be quite an isolating experience, and like I don't have other people to bounce my ideas off.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have someone to just look over my shoulder and go, "Oh, is this shit?" And they go, "Yeah, it's a bit of shit, that mate."
Thank you so much. Right.
Do you know what I mean? I don't have someone to do that with. So sometimes I put my ideas out there, and I'm like, I have had nobody.
Yeah.
But I think that almost comes from like obviously being in education. When you're in art education, you have a tutor who says, not so keen on that.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that anymore, and I have not had it for like 7 years now, it's a bit like, is it actually good? Or have I gone mental?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you think it's actually benefiting you rather than
Yeah, I think so sometimes.
that sort
because
of
it will stop me doing
keep
things.
you landlocked? So
Yeah.
it's like, you know what?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's great that I don't have somebody there over my shoulder telling me what's working and
Forces
not
you
working.
inwards. You have to make a decision whether you like. this or
Yeah,
not.
well, exactly. You have
What
to
do you
make a
think of it?
decision. Exactly.
But again, I think that's reflected in your style.
Yeah.
It's very you. It is like you have a style. Whether it was your intention or not, I think you have the style
See-
which you've built up. That almost pushes things. Like it's what's the word I want to use? It's quite provocative, your style, in terms of like, this is what I like, these are the colours I'm gonna smash together. It doesn't feel like you're trying to appeal to this like mass audience of people where it's like, do you know what, I'll just do it beige.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do beige, or I'm just gonna keep it and with a dash of black. in there.
Yeah,
And I'm just
totally.
like, nah, I think you do things exactly how you want to do things.
But I think that I do them that way as well, like maybe subconsciously or not, because I want to be hired for doing those things.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
It's working.
What's the word? I don't want to like dull myself down, paint things I don't like, and then get commission based on those.
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels like it is working so far, but it's cool to hear other people talk about my work because I never get that. And like for you to say, "Oh, I can see the style in your work," like I feel like every time I do a new piece of work, I'm more confused about my style.
Yeah, I was going
I'm
to
like-
ask you, like, how do you think you've carved out your style?
But
You don't.
I honestly no. The truth is, I honestly still feel like when I look at my work, I don't always see a cohesive style. There are symbols that I like to use that I bring in. There are colours, but it's still not there yet for me with the consistency.
Okay.
Other people might feel like they can see a piece of mine and know it's my piece, but there are still some pieces that I've done that I'm like, that doesn't look like my piece. Where at what point down the road have I gone wrong and become a bit disconnected from this? But then other people will be like, that's obviously one of your pieces, and you don't even have to tell me. And I'm just like, really? It doesn't
That
look
must
like.
be true.
It doesn't look like. Yeah, it must be. Doesn't look like my work to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes you're too close to it.
Oh gosh,
Sounds
for
so
sure.
strange, but like you're just too close to your own
Yeah.
work to be objective about it anymore.
Oh, for
you
sure.
just see that one brush stroke right there that went wrong,
sure.
or like that one thing in the. You don't see the whole
Yeah.
beast
Nah,
anymore. You just see
and
that one Like it's same with. I feel like it's the same with you as well. With how long you will edit for.
Yeah,
You're
that's
editing
true.
things to the point where it's like has.
Yeah.
I mean, your
'Cause
work is
sometimes-
phenomenal, but
also-
sometimes you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling that one, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah,
It's the
actually, how
best
do you
one.
gauge when you finish the piece?
Great question.
I mean, when it comes to a mural, it's basically there are almost like stages. It's very methodical. I feel like when I'm actually designing a piece, say like on Illustrator, that's harder for me to know when the finish line is, to know when I've finished. You know, it took me a really long time to learn when to stop, when to go, that's enough now. But I think now I just get a general feeling. It's like, is there a message I want to communicate? Have I communicated it effectively? Have I brought some elements into here that communicate the message well? Like, these are the things I think about anyway. Am I happy with the colour palette? I've basically finished there.
So it's almost like a subconscious
yeah,
checklist.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's almost like a subconscious checklist. I don't really think of it. Like, I don't think of it that way in my head. But I get to that point without thinking to myself, am I happy with the type? It just happens and I go, okay, I shouldn't do any more. And then I might come back.
However,
I might come back and I might play with the colour palette and I might play with the composition. But there is a moment in my brain where I'm like, I'm done. And it is that subconscious checklist. And I think that's how I do it. But I think dependent on how I'm feeling in myself that day, it can go well or it can go bad. If I'm having a bit of a rubbish time, generally, or a bit of a creative block, I can work on something for 8 hours that is pure garbage. And
Do
look
you mean
at
the physical thing, or do you mean the
no,
design?
like the design, like design it,
Stage, yeah.
and go, this is terrible. I didn't know when to stop today because I'm not with it enough today. I'm not feeling myself enough to know when to stop. So it's a lot of way down to the way I feel, and then that subconscious checklist that it's like I've never called it that myself, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't even think it. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now leave it.
That's
You
it,
know.
move on to the
It's kind of
next
like you
one.
need a disciplined day, and I think as you're growing in terms of working freelance, I think the more you'll remember that it's like you are. I know people are like, you are your own boss, but it's like don't be a shit boss to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to be nice to yourself. So if you're having a day, it's like, what would you want your boss to say in a situation? Like, go home and just chill for a bit, and then pick it up tomorrow.
course.
Like, I think that's an important thing for like any freelancer to just remember. It's
Totally.
Like,
Yeah,
you're
but
so
like,
responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
but like in the realm of freelance, then how do you deal with like a creative block? Or like, does it happen often, or you just always flat out?
It doesn't happen often, but I wouldn't say I'm always flared up. Sometimes I have to really like get myself there.
Yeah.
Like it's, but well, normally when I have some kind of creative block, I go back to like books, to printed matter. I just look at, I've got, you know, quite a collection of art books. Got some nice books there, and I look at them, and you know, I see some pages and I go, oh, that's fit as that. Oh yeah, put a little post-it note on that so I can look at that later. Like I'm looking through a porno mag or something. I'm just like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll save that one for later.
Put a pin on that.
Yeah, I'll save it for later.
I like that one.
And I come back and I look at art that generally I'm like, oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
But if I'm having a creative block, I find that being on Instagram is unhelpful, really unhelpful for me. If I'm in a bad headspace, like creatively, I just don't go on Instagram because I'm going to see what everyone else is doing. And I'm going to
Outputs, all you're looking at is outputs. Like, where are yours? Remember,
exactly,
where are your outputs?
because this is
the
what it's all
comparison
fueled
comes
by
in,
now. It's all about your outputs, and the comparison has always been a difficult thing for me. So I have to stay away from from social media.
So detach a minute.
Is Instagram your place? Is that your portfolio, or do you have a website? And
I have
those kind of
I
things?
have a website.
Right.
I update it like once every 6 months.
Okay.
I think clients find me through Instagram, and that's
That's what I
about
was gonna
it.
say. Like, is Instagram your way in, or is like, would you recommend to people to have a website? Or not?
I would recommend to have a website because there are definitely certain kinds of clients that will find it more impressive than an Instagram page.
Yeah.
You know, maybe in 30 or so years, maybe not.
Is that the
Maybe
perception
website-
of professionalism? If you have a website, it's like, oh yeah, so this might be legit.
Yeah, I think it does give you
Just
some
legit,
legitimacy.
Yeah.
Is that
Makes you
probably-
look
is that
like a
why
professional.
You kind of
Yeah.
have kept
Yeah.
up with the website.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
that's why I've
Okay.
kept up my website.
It's
Yeah,
an honest response to that, because I'm so torn between the significance of a website and not having a website.
I don't know. I feel like I actually haven't experienced so far in the last 3 years or so someone being like, oh yeah, I found you via your website. People are like, I
Yeah.
found you on social media, or a friend suggested you, or like, I saw one of your murals in the street,
Yeah.
you know, like that sort of thing. So it's never come about, but then there's always that fear of, if I take it away, am I then less exposed?
Yeah, you're
yeah.
going to miss that one big opportunity where someone's like, a website.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went, oh,
Yeah.
great. You know, and there might be some clients that are more impressed by a website, you know. But generally, it's not. I've never had anyone say,
Yeah.
you know.
No, so I was just in the grand scheme of things, because I guess if you are the client and you see that person has a website, it's almost like they are taking themselves
Yeah,
seriously.
I suppose if somebody's looking at maybe hiring 5 people and only one of them has a website,
Yeah.
there is that element there of, oh,
It's
this
like
person maybe takes
invested-
themselves
Yeah,
seriously.
they invested more time into their craft.
Yes.
So you know what, let's buy them. They're a lot more
Exactly.
trusted
Yeah,
to deliver.
yeah. But then,
So maybe have one large question, maybe closing question-ish, maybe, not sure. Just 2 pieces of advice that you would give to, kind of want to say the past version of yourself, but at the same time kind of targeted at people who are trying to get into like freelance mural work, but just have no idea what to do, and maybe have no one to speak to about it. What 2 things? It could be 3 if it spills over, or it can be 1. What is your biggest advice that you kind of offering out to those people?
I mean, I suppose that the best advice I can give, the biggest advice, is kind of cliche, but you just have to try and go for it. Just go buy a couple of cans of spray paint or paint and give it a go.
Yep.
Try not to worry too much at this stage about how other people are going to perceive it. Just see how you feel when you paint. Like, a massive part of it is just like connecting with how you feel when you paint, you know. And if you want to have a go and you've not got started and you'd love to do that maybe in the future for a living, like, find a space where you feel safe. Like, you know, maybe it's like your parents' garden or your mate's backyard or something, anything, and have a piece of wood or a canvas and get started there and just start, not small, but like build yourself up, especially if you feel like maybe this isn't the safest thing for me to do. And I'll know a lot of people who want to paint feel that way. Myself was included in that for sure. And just keep at it and try not to worry too much about what everyone else is thinking about it. Just listen to the good things. Yeah, I think that's what the advice I'd give out, really. It's a tricky question.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was giving my past self advice, I'd be like, you just need to go for it. It'd just be like, just do it. Just do it. Why are you sitting around waiting on this?
Yeah.
But at the start of the pandemic, I had a really awful few months, and then I sort of was like, I have to kick my ass into gear now. And that's when I picked up spray paint. I was like, I need a change. Something needs to be different. And then it came into my life and I was like, oh, I needed this, you know. So I'd just say, just go for it. Just pick it up and have a go.
Yeah.
See how it feels. You know, talk to the people that you love and your friends. See if they've got any wall space you can practice on. Like, you know, when I was, I shouldn't endorse this, but you know, when I was a teenager, I used to paint on my bedroom walls. You know, my mum hated me for it.
Coughing in the room.
Mate, not, you know
Sorry,
what, this
sorry
is
to the
when
mic.
my mum, like,
Okay,
no, see, this is when
Just
I was still
coughing up
using,
a bit,
I was still using like acrylics and stuff.
No, more sensible.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but just find a safe space where you can paint and go for it and connect with the people who want to paint because they're there. And then if you're struggling to find them, then I don't know, if you're local, connect with me.
Yeah.
We can find somewhere to go paint that's safe, or we can try and find something, you know, sort out a situation. There'll be workshops if you look hard enough for them. Like, there are a few places in Liverpool that do street art workshops where you can try, meet other people who want to get involved in it, you know. Yeah.
Pearly pearls of wisdom.
Yeah. Like, I know you touched on it earlier on briefly anyway. It's like, how have you dealt with imposter syndrome, or is it something that hasn't happened to you?
Oh no, it has happened. It has happened to me. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't I deal with it all the time. Like, just listening to Katie be like, oh yeah, I see this in your work, you're this, you're that. I'm like, I'm not any of these things. I'm like, I
It's
am.
happening now.
It's happening now. You know, she's like, oh, I see all this
Relax,
style in
baby.
your work. Like, you know, you're saying to me, it looks like the balls, you know, stuff's happening. And I'm just like,
Is it?
I'm like, is it? Because I feel like I'm
Yes.
still 21 years old, like trying to claw my way out of university, going, what the hell am I gonna do? I deal with it all the time, but a lot of imposter syndrome is like tainted with this compare and despair thing for me as well. So it's
I've never heard that phrase before. Compare and despair.
it's a cognitive behavioural therapy term. So like.
Okay.
Long story short, I used to work at Lego, you know, the Lego store, Lego company.
Yeah.
And after I left, I had loads of Lego that I got there for free over the 2 years I worked there. I sold it all and I got myself some therapy. And I had like 20 sessions of cognitive behavioural therapy.
From Lego.
Yeah, from
What's
selling
this
Lego.
story?
What
I love
happened
how
to you
do
then?
this.
From selling Lego. No, from selling
You
Lego,
had to let go of
guys.
the story.
I worked there for a year and a half.
Sorry,
that was it,
fun.
man.
Sorry.
I cannot.
It's fine.
Okay, carried away. Got triggered as you were.
No, it's fine. And I basically sold all the Lego that I'd got there over the years for free. It's just a long story, but you get loads of stuff for free when you work at
Hope you're
Lego.
not snitching.
Yes.
I hope you're not snitching.
No, I'm not snitching. It was mine to do what I want
So
with.
Lego, do you think?
And,
Sorry,
and
as well.
I had lots of like therapy over my thinking styles,
Yeah.
and compare and despair is the thinking style that's always been the most difficult one for me, and that is literally comparing yourself to other people. And with social media, it's super easy to
Yeah,
do,
of course.
Yeah.
but for me, it has been like a really serious issue in the past. It's been I don't know. It's been almost like a friendship ender, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, it means that I've cut people off. People have cut me off because my attitude isn't very good. But I have worked on it.
Yeah.
I know that it's a problem for me, and it's much better than it used to be. But it's still there, and I have to keep it in check a lot. And the imposter syndrome is often like elevated by that, by being like, I'm not as good as any of these people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't deserve to be here in this space as much as they
Yeah.
do. They're painting 4 murals a week.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know, I think that also comes with having a part-time job as well.
Yeah.
Like, and having that to help me pay
Feeling
the
like you
bills.
fully embraced it. Or fully
Yeah.
realm.
I'm like, everyone else is fully embracing this.
Yeah.
This is their full-time job. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm working in it. I'm working here. I'm still here doing this to pay the bills. And I've had to come to terms with the fact that that's fine as well.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
taken
that's
a
part of
long
the job.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Took me a
And the
long
fact that you
time.
never really know someone else's situation.
No,
Never really.
absolutely, you do not. I think I need someone to like remind me of that daily.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it on a mural or something.
You actually should, like, there's a woman of typography and painting, paint that somewhere in your home. You don't really know what someone else is dealing with. Like, on
Yeah.
the surface, it looks like you're doing this full time, but who knows? Like,
Yeah.
you don't.
I
never know.
thought it was full time, to be fair, because it's like, whoa, that's a lot when I was scrolling through. It's
Yes,
like,
that's. You look like that person to other people
Yeah.
who is doing it
Perspective,
full time.
perspective,
And it's
yeah.
Wow.
it's so refreshing and it's so like human to hear that you're like, nah, I still work part time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think you sounded surprised by that when you were
Yeah,
like,
I
wait, you
was.
work as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's like,
I know,
what?
I know we're supposed to be closing, but I just want to say like that is almost become quite an important part of me is to like be proud of the fact that I'm working part time. I want to work full time for myself, but there is nothing wrong with having another job.
Embracing
And
that.
other people, I've been in scenarios where people are so secretive about their other jobs because they're
Yeah.
embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
I work at a toy store.
Amen.
I sell Barbie dolls and bears, and I love it. It is fun,
Yeah.
and it helps me pay the bills. And the people I work with are awesome.
Yeah.
I still, like, I've just said it now, but I still get embarrassed about telling people that because I'm like, I associate that with shame, like I'm not a proper artist or something. But there are so many people who have part-time jobs and they're just doing their own thing to pay the bills, and that is totally fine.
I'm gonna throw a number out there and be like, I reckon like 90% of artists are also
I
working
think
a job
so.
that's like that's paying the bills and they're doing their thing on
I
the
think
side.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so
To
too.
be fair, I've got a 9 to. We all have 9
We
to
all
5.
do.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
everyone
Everyone
is
is-
true.
Yeah.
And people just often aren't, like, I feel like other artists sometimes I'm just like, why aren't we just more transparent with each other about how we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we don't always need to be constantly creative all the
Yeah,
time.
the
Like,
more
we can
transparent we are
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that, the more energy you can just put straight into art instead of energy spent worrying about what other people
Totally,
think or
exactly, what other
this
people are
person's doing over
doing.
here. It's like, nah.
Yeah, and then it stops us pitting against each
Yeah.
other as well, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. Yeah.
and I find that, you know, like in the past, like not now, but like years ago when I left uni, I'd be like, oh, this person, I remember I thought like, oh, this person I know, they're having a baby now, so that means she probably won't be making any work over the next few months. And I was like, great. Do you know what I mean? Which is awful.
Yeah.
It's shit.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
It's
gonna
like
be
one
able to
person
catch
out the
up
way.
with-
And I hate to admit that about myself, but it's like,
honest,
there's a bit of
it's so
pressure.
honest.
There's a bit of pressure off me there because I
Yeah.
can't. She won't be posting every other day now about what she's doing
Yeah.
because she's looking after a baby, which is the
Yeah.
hardest
Why
bloody
not?
work there is.
Yeah,
But you know
It's
what I'm
so
saying?
hard.
It's like,
Yeah, I hear
so I'm
that.
like, and now I'm not that person anymore. But in the past, I have been like, oh, it's almost like a competition. Like,
Yeah.
they're out of the competition for a bit.
Yeah.
And that's awful.
No,
and I
think
hate
you're
it
being super
now.
honest about
Like,
that.
it's
Yeah.
all about community, not competition.
Yeah.
The community, like, in fact, the reason I feel like I now have more work and I'm getting more is happening is because of the community around me.
Yeah.
And because instead of seeing them as my competition, I'm like, these are my people.
Yes.
And we have to elevate each
They
other.
can't do a job, then someone else can do a job.
Yeah.
And it's like we can't have this conversation without shouting out Withington Walls for a second and Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
from Withington
absolutely.
Walls, like
Yeah.
if we can just clap
Withington
smile for
Walls,
a
like,
second,
yeah.
damn,
Ed,
damn.
Ed.
So like there was a chat the other day that really made me smile because it was like we were all in a Withington Walls group chat from like months back, and we did some kind of there was like we did like a people show their work, and it's got a cool name, and I can't remember what the name of it was called. Retrospective.
Yeah, it was. It was
There's
like a photography show.
retrospective, so
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
photographs of everyone's
Yeah,
work
well.
and things like that. But then the chat remained, and I thought it was a dead chat, the
Yeah.
chat that just sits there. But then the other day, someone just posted like, "Yo, I can't do this piece of work. Does anyone in this chat want it?"
Yeah.
And then it got
nice.
bounced
Oh, that's
around,
nice.
and people
Yeah,
were like,
that's
"Oh, I'm
nice.
not going to
Okay,
be in
that's the
Manchester.
element
I'm
of
not gonna be
community.
here."
Yeah.
I
that's
looked
nice.
at it and was like, "That's not really my surface to paint
Yeah.
on. I don't want to take this job from you and then butcher it, which
Yeah.
is on me." But I was like, "Oh no, it's
There's
it's
a
like
pressure. It's like, ooh,
texture."
Yeah,
you're too
yeah,
good for
yeah.
me. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You're just gonna shy away
but
too
the fact
much.
that got passed
Too
out
much
there
war.
and so casually, and
Yeah.
see everyone's beautiful responses, and everyone was so grateful that like
Oh,
that had
that's
been passed
nice.
out.
Yeah.
And it was like, what about this person, and so. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the community is so important in terms of that, and that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's
the community is
prime
super
example of
important.
that. And Ed Willard is dope.
Yeah. And you know, when I first started painting, it was Ed I messaged and was like, "Hi, I want to get into painting.
Hello.
Can you help me?" And Ed was like, "Yeah." And
Here's some
he
space.
let me paint, and I was like, you know, that was probably the first safe space I found to painting.
yeah.
It was like through Ed.
I got into this through Ed too, Ed and Oscar. Like that was my introduction, and so I think he's trying to bring more
Shout
women
them
into the
out.
forefront. So like,
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, shout outs to Withington Walls all the way.
Yeah.
Probably how I met you as well.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
how,
nice.
why we're having this conversation.
Nice.
I know.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No.
music.
Yeah, music. Yeah, actually, when you're painting, what have you been bumping? Like, what's been your
When I'm
let's say
painting-
track of the week or track of the day? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on. Yeah. Because
My track of the week is actually something that I heard when I was in Katie's car on the way to paint last week, but it's my track
what
of
are we
this
bumping?
week. Yeah, we were basically. I remember we were in the car, right? And it's so funny, but Katie has aircon in her car. I'm not used to aircon. I was like, it was a hot day. The aircon was on.
You made me feel like I was driving a Rolls Royce.
Mate, I was like, this car is so
Laugh it
fancy
up.
compared to the car I'm used to. And the aircon was on, and it was like really warm, but the sun was out, but it wasn't like blinding me, and there was trees around us. And I was so relaxed, and there was a song playing on your playlist called Under the Magnolia Tree.
I love that song.
Actually, no, wait. You know
Isn't
what?
it?
Time out. No, can we've got to
think
take a quick time out and listen to the song because I'd like to hear it too.
Okay.
No, but the story's stunning though.
Is it?
Carry on with
Okay,
the story.
okay, fine,
Yeah,
okay.
I hear what you're trying to do. This is so nice.
So it
Go
was
on then.
playing, and it was just the way I was vibing. I was relaxing in the car, and I loved it. I loved the way it made me feel in that moment when I was sat in the car. I was so relaxed, and that song was playing, and I was like, and I remember I got on my phone and was like, it said Under the
Are you
Magnolia
doing
Tree.
it on the slide?
So I'm like, yeah, literally, no, for serious,
I
on
know
the
the
slide,
song.
on the slide.
It's like you know the song.
On the slide going,
groove.
under the magnolia tree. And it came up and I was like, yeah, save that for, I'm going to start later.
Gorgeous.
And
nice.
that's my song of the week. This week I probably listen to it every day.
That is
But I
lovely.
feel like a lot of the time, the music, I'm the sort of person who finds one track and then listens to it
Rinse
to
it.
death.
Yeah.
Rinse it
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
into its life to the point where I start hearing it and I'm like, ugh.
song.
But that's normally for me like if you know, like when you're in a moment or you're feeling something and a piece of music like makes that moment, and that's often how I think I discover music. It's like I was relaxed, I was vibing, I was having a good time, and this piece of music played, and I remember I was like, I felt so full of like, oh, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to paint. This is going to be a good day. And so when I hear it, it goes back to that moment of being in the car, you know.
Okay.
So that's been my track of the week.
Okay.
Sorry, I know we wanted to do it like with the system that we had. I just
Yeah,
couldn't
no,
resist the story.
no,
I
no,
couldn't
this
resist
it
it.
was
Sorry, did you
it's,
mess up the system?
I
Casey?
messed up the system.
No,
but
it's
so
completely
well and
fine.
truly there.
Because to be fair, I think it's gonna work out post production, and when you're watching, it's gonna work out because we're gonna do ours. What's been yours?
I can't remember.
Okay.
Oh wait. Oh yeah. Wait. Yes, I can.
Yeah, and then we're gonna listen to them after we've heard what they are. Just for
Okay.
a moment.
Okay. This can be
Yeah,
fun.
music.
Ah, well,
Music is I'd say a huge part.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a song.
it says
so
a lot about the frequencies.
This week, when I've been, because this has been like my first week back going into work, it's that commute has returned where it's like I don't want to listen to my September playlist anymore. I wanted to switch it up, and then for some reason, I woke up one morning and I was like, "Where's Burna Boy from?" I don't know why. It was like the first burning question in my mind. I was like, where is Burna Boy from?
Yeah.
And then so I googled that, and then I spent the day listening to Burna Boy, and then also Wizkid,
Did he
and then
drop a new album recently?
I think so, yeah, but I didn't.
Yeah,
Was it a single? Don't know. Anyway, this isn't even my track of the week. It has nothing to do with Burna Boy, but I've been listening to a lot of Afrobeats music, and then I was playing this one playlist that was like very very Afrobeats heavy, and then do you know when Spotify does the thing where it just recommends like a different track at the end?
Yeah.
It was like so jarringly different, but it was so necessary that like this totally different song came on. Oh my god, I forgot the name again.
Oh God! You
I don't know, 'cause
done
the story was
Do you
so
even
stupid
love that
to
song?
It's this one song called Groceries by Cartoons. I don't know who they are. I don't know what the track is.
Okay.
It's called Groceries.
Groceries is a great name for a song.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's
Just
just
as a word.
it's
I just feel like it can go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. So I was heavily into Afrobeats this week, and then that
Okay.
random song at the
Yeah.
end was like, "That's my track of the week." Sorry to the whole of Afrobeats.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely little ditty, and I've been bopping.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it made you feel good.
Yeah, it made me
That's
feel
what I'm
very
getting
nice.
from that.
It's
yeah.
very
And the
refreshing track to
excitement,
hear
yeah.
after all of like the whoa, this has been like one genre heavy, which is
Yeah,
rarely the vibe I go down. So yeah,
And
Groceries, Cartoons, it was great.
sounds like your songs found you lot.
Oh, gorgeous.
Like
Yeah.
your songs found you.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
Tap that.
that's nice. I
Yeah,
can't
it
even. Swang on, swang on. So yeah, that's my song actually. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Stunning.
Cody Blue 31, and also context wise, the song makes me feel good, and I feel like even collectively, it's one of those songs that I just personally feel like it's an internal soundtrack to a certain extent.
That's lovely.
An internal sort of encouraging soundtrack, if that makes sense. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
like I'm doing ABC or you're questioning yourself. It's like, swang on, just do it then. Just,
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, that's my track. And
Do you have a memory that you go back to? Like how you said, there's like a memory you go back to when you hear that track. Do you have a memory that you kind of return to when you hear that
Yes,
track?
almost, well, there's more than one. Because I feel like every time I've been with the homies, we have a moment, like it's almost like a whole choir starts. It's like swang on. To be fair, we sang it last week,
So
just a
great.
different.
Sang it
Yeah,
last
we
week,
yeah we sang
yeah.
it last week, just a different version of it, our own remix to it. It's don't ask. But yeah, so I think yeah, that's my track because I've been rinsing it this week. I think I got triggered since singing it last week, so I've just been on it this week, and yeah, even the week's happenings, it's just like whatever is coming, it's like just swang on. It's just vibes.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, embrace it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Nice responses all around the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your songs found you lot. As far as me,
that is
it's
true.
just like
Ah, yours did too. In a
adjacent. But
when you say
Yeah.
adjacent, like that's
kind of.
Yeah.
But just a quick one. Should we quickly listen to the songs, or we can close? Are you working tomorrow?
Yeah, but I don't start till 10.
Oh, that's nice.
It's okay.
it's really early for a Saturday then. But yeah,
I mean, yeah, but it's not early for work.
maybe we wrap an hour. I'm gonna play them in the room anyway.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we just spoke about them and what we did last week. I mean, this is all going to get cut, right? Maybe
Yeah,
it
I
won't.
mean, no,
this is
like,
so going to remain in it.
like, hey,
But like last week,
yeah.
we've found a new system of the music.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Where we say the track and then we listen to the track and then we talk about it.
Oh, nice.
I feel like our
okay.
roundups were quite nice.
Yeah,
so-
they were, but I just feel like each episode is just kind of different from the last one. Like even today we didn't even do housekeep. So the
Yeah,
housekeep
housekeeping.
entails, guys, if you're watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. Katie throwing gang signs.
Oh,
That's
that's
not
the housekeeping.
yeah, that's a housekeeping. We're supposed to do this at the
Yeah.
start, not at the end.
Oh,
So hopefully you all made it this far. If you have, like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you. And
It's been so nice chatting with you.
yes.
oh, it's been nice chatting with you guys too. I do
Absolutely.
feel like
Yeah.
I did. You learned lots about me, and now I'm like, oh no, I didn't learn anything about them really.
I mean,
This is us, really. This
Yeah,
is,
I know.
this
fully
is-
interrogated you, like.
No, I just like when you have a conversation with someone, you're like, I'm just talking about
But
me.
it's different in a podcast
I
because
know.
we're just like,
And
bam,
just-
answer this,
yeah.
tell us this. Like,
Yeah.
I know.
like it was
Yeah.
really nice chatting with you.
And I hope you were comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, really. Thank you for joining
Yeah.
us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you. And peace, love, and wisdom. Thank you for joining. And we out. Oh,
Nice.
that was nice.